Hi, I'm Mark Zipp from Crocker Farm Auction. I'm here to talk to you about a rare piece of pottery we'll be selling in our October 29th auction. It's a great figural log cabin piece. It has all the earmarks of a Midwestern piece because of the light color of the clay and the use of cobalt and brown slip. As you can see here, the figures as well as the animals and the entire ground as well as the cabin are decorated with cobalt slip and a brown slip, which is either made with something called Albany slip, which is clay mined in Albany, New York, or iron or manganese. As you can see here, we've got like a whole family. We've got a guy on a horseback. He's a soldier or somebody returning home. We have a fiddler on top of a barrel. We have children all around, a little girl here and boys here. A little boy leaning up against the cabin here. We have two women waiting at the door, and we have a woman milking a cow. However, the sign above the door that says whiskey and the women waiting by suggests it might be a house of ill repute, if you will. We have a neat coonskin right here on the side of the cabin. The fiddler, as you can see, has a coonskin hat on. Another interesting aspect of this piece is the use of sparingly of green slip. We have green slip on the tree and green slip on these tree stumps here, obviously meant to resemble foliage of some sort. And green slip is something rarely seen in stoneware, but occasionally found on some Midwestern objects, most notably pieces by Anna Pottery. The Anna Pottery was an incredible factory operating out of Anna, Illinois. It was operated by two brothers, Wallace and Cornwall Kirkpatrick. Cornwall was born in 1814 and Wallace was born in 1828, and they operated the pottery from 1859 to 1893. They made some fabulous figural decorated things. I mean, you think of the very best of American stoneware, the most folky, the most interesting. You think of Anna Pottery, the Kirkpatrick brothers. They were doing things that other potters dreamed about. They were true artists. They took the utilitarian form of stoneware to the highest level. They made things like snake jugs, talking about the temperance movement. They made pig bottles, where you actually drink out of the rear of the pig. They made frog inkwells, inkwells with clamshells with frogs applied on top. They made all sorts of great figural forms. Here's an example of a snake jug that they made. This will also be selling October 29th. It says on it, Little Brown Jug by Anna Pottery, 1880. And the handle is in the form of a venomous snake with its flattened head and large mouth and scaly body. A lot of their things that reference temperance were very interesting because we don't really know whether they were speaking the ills of alcohol and working with the temperance movement, or whether they're just kind of making fun of it. But they were basically saying with the snake that what's inside of here is evil, and if you drink it, something bad will happen. And whether that was in jest or serious, we don't really know. But the similarity to this piece in its figural nature, the use of the very light colored clay and the blue and brown glazes, are all characteristics of Anna Pottery. And they did lots of big jugs with figures on them, human figures. They did a great one that's out in the Midwest of Jefferson Davis on a jug with a Union soldier chasing him. And these figures kind of remind us of that. An interesting thing about this cabin is it's very similar to some redware cabins produced by J. Everly and Company of Strasburg, Virginia in 1894. Interestingly enough, the Everly potters from Strasburg, which was in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, a famous late 19th century pottery, was at the Everly potters were at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. The Anna potters were actually at the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago. Cornwall had died, but Wallace was there, and he possibly had helpers with him. They were just all displaying their wares, showing them off. And the similarity of this example to Everly examples suggests that the Everlys may have based their example on this, possibly from something they saw at the 1893 World's Fair. Theirs is very similar. It uses molded figures. Now this has two hand-modeled figures, but these molded heads here and these molded bodies and all, very similar to the molded heads found in the Everly example. There's also a dog reclining here, very similar to the Everly example. The pelt right here, very similar again to the Everly example, as well as the form of the cabin with its shingles here. In fact, the Everly piece has, there's about a handful known. The Everly's cabins have the words of Fisher's Hill Battlefield written out on the shingles, each incised. Each shingle had an incised letter on it. Fisher's Hill Battlefield was in Strasburg, Virginia, and they made their cabins to commemorate a battle there in 1894, the 30-year anniversary. However, just everything about this piece is, bespeaks that both of them were using their same source, or possibly the Everlys were using this as their source for making their famous cabins. And those cabins are actually so famous. I mean, one's in the Smithsonian, several of them are in various collections, but they've become kind of iconic examples of Shenandoah Valley pottery. And this, we feel, is a much finer example, not only in its glazed surface, but in its profuse applied decoration, which is just far superior to the Everly examples we've seen. If you can see on the bottom here, we have this interesting slab construction. It's very similar to a lot of the aquarium castles made in the Midwestern U.S., including Vienna pottery. So once again, it's just a great piece. We're very excited to get it. It came recently out of, believe it or not, Illinois, and it will be sold in our October 29th auction. Thank you very much.